In the cold shadow of Norway's mountains, a boy was born into exile. His name, Harald Sigurdsson. The year was 1015, and the world was tearing itself apart. The Viking Age was nearing its twilight, but its flames still burned in the hearts of those who refused to be forgotten. Harald wasn't just any child. He was the half-brother of King Olaf II of Norway, later known as Saint Olaf. But in 1030, during a desperate attempt to reclaim his throne, Olaf was killed in the Battle of Stiklestad, a brutal and bloody clash where Harald, just 15 years old, stood shoulder to shoulder with his brother and watched him fall. Wounded, hunted, and with nothing but the steel in his hand and vengeance in his heart, Harald fled east. Not west like most Vikings, east, toward the rising sun, toward opportunity, toward legend. Harald Hay journey took him. His journey down the icy rivers of Rus territory, past Kiev, and into the gates of a city unlike anything he'd ever imagined. Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire, the most powerful empire on earth at the time. Here, among golden domes and marble halls, Harald would forge a new destiny. He joined the Varangian Guard, an elite unit of Viking mercenaries sworn to protect the Byzantine emperor. Not just anyone could join this brotherhood. They were brutal, loyal, and feared. But Harald was no ordinary Viking. He didn't just fight, he led. He rose quickly through the ranks. His sword tasted battle in Sicily, the Holy Land, and Bulgaria, where he earned the nickname Bulgara Brenia, the burner of Bulgars. He was a killer, a commander, a legend in the making. And he got rich, very rich. Harald sent his gold back to Kiev, where it was guarded by Prince Yaroslav the Wise, gold looted in battle, earned through blood. Not for pleasure, but for something greater. He wasn't done with Norway. Not yet. But Harald's rise wasn't just marked by steel and coin. He allegedly became involved with the Empress Zoe herself, ruler of Byzantium. His ambition grew dangerous. Some stories say he was imprisoned for it. Others say he simply grew tired of serving another man's throne. What is known is that in 1042, Harald escaped Constantinople, a feat that was nearly impossible for any Varangian. Most were sworn by oath never to leave, but Harald didn't care. He was done being a sword for hire. He wanted to be king. Return to the north. He returned to Kiev and collected the fortune he had hoarded for years. And then, with gold in his hand and fire in his eyes, he returned to Norway. By 1046, Harald had struck a deal with King Magnus the Good, his nephew. They would rule together. But Magnus died mysteriously just a year later, and Harald Hardrada became sole king of Norway. His reign was ruthless and efficient. He waged wars, collected taxes, and built Norway into a formidable northern kingdom. He ruled for 2 decades. But Harald had one more dream, a dream that would be his undoing. The final battle, Stamford Bridge. In 1066, England was in chaos. The king, Edward the Confessor, had died without an heir. Ambitions flared like wildfire. Harold Godwinson claimed the English throne, but Harald Hardrada believed he had a claim too. He gathered a fleet, thousands of warriors, battle-hardened Norsemen. He landed in northern England, ravaged the countryside, and crushed the first English resistance at Fulford. Victory seemed close. But on September 25th, 1066, Harald faced Harold Godwinson at Stamford Bridge. The English king had marched his army over 180 miles in just 4 days to surprise the Viking invaders. And he did. The battle was brutal. A legendary Norse warrior held the narrow bridge for nearly an hour, buying time with every swing of his axe before being speared from beneath. Harald, tall, broad and armored in blue and gold, charged without his mail armor, expecting an easy victory. He was struck in the neck by an arrow. And there, on English soil, Harald Hardrada died, the last great Viking king, a man forged in exile, tempered in Byzantine fire, and extinguished in a field far from home. Legacy of the last Viking. His death marked the end of the Viking Age. Just weeks later, William the Conqueror would cross the Channel and defeat Harold Godwinson at the Battle of Hastings, forever changing the course of English history. But Harald Hardrada was more than a warrior. He was the bridge between worlds, between the wild, raiding Norsemen and the rising medieval kingdoms of Europe. He was a poet, a lover, a mercenary, a king, and a legend. From the frost-covered fjords of Norway to the golden palaces of Byzantium, his story is one of the most unbelievable in Viking history. And though his bones rest beneath English soil, his name still echoes across the ages. Harald Hardrada, the Viking who became the emperor's bodyguard and nearly changed the fate of two empires,